Hi, how are you?
Hot. Just turned my fan off because I was cold. I'm gonna put my hair up. It'll help. Sorry I'm late. I was obsessed with trying to make this freaking TikTok video.
It's okay.
Want you to know, I thought I called you last night. And you were upset with me. Like, why did you call me? I was like, I don't know how I called you. Because I didn't have any app open that I thought I called you on. But I thought I called you through Reddit. But Reddit doesn't have that ability.
I don't even have a Reddit.
Yeah, like, so I was like, what? But I was convinced until I woke up. And then I was like, you can't even call people through Reddit. Like, just gonna go back to sleep.
Sounds like you needed it.
Yep.
I'm so tired.
Um, Sleep more?
Good advice. I'm so glad I thought of that.
Did you, have you seen the Joe Biden Animal Crossing island?
I went to it last night.
I saw it in a video. They put a lot of work into it.
They did. There's also a White House in the back. You can't get to it, but it's there.
Well, you gotta have your dreams and aspirations out where everybody can see it.
Yeah, but I saw that and I was like, I don't know how to. I don't know what to say to this, but this is awesome.
Uh, Definitely targeting the young generation, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. They're like, hey kids, we're cool.
And can I just, like, we're not a political podcast in any way, but the sass from his campaign. Oh my God. The fly swatters, DJ. The fly swatters.
I mean, they see it and they're like, it's right there. How can we not?
Opportunity. Somebody open the door and they don't just like walk through it. They're like, they run through it. They're like Usain Bolt.
They're like, oh, let me put this away. Hold on.
Oh man.
Put my Switch on the charger so I don't try to play it while we're on a podcast.
Yep.
It's bad.
Yep. And on that note, roll intro. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Deanna. And we're
the Halfwit Sisters.
Oh my God.
Normally we'd recap the last episode, but I cannot lie, I don't even remember the last episode.
Bond.
Ah, yes. We talked about Bond and about stories and games.
Yeah.
Stories and games and gameplay. That's what we talked about. Yeah.
So go watch that if you want to listen to the quick history of Bond
And then a rant about gameplay and stories by yours truly. So this episode, you wanted to talk about.
So I'm not gonna lie, I was tired when I said that text, but basically I had a conversation with my roommate not long after the episode. Because she's like, "What'd you do your podcast on today?" I was like, "Oh, we did it on Bond." And she mentioned an actor that she wants to play Bond, and I was like, "There's two reasons I don't want that." And it delved into a conversation about how they rely, mainstream media relies on eye candy to tell story.
Well, who's the actor, first off?
Isra something. Isra,
Elba?
yeah.
Okay. We'll just put the name up because neither one of us can pronounce the name. With this picture.
This guy.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons is and this might not be politically correct of me, but I don't believe in changing a character's ethnicity, sexuality, or gender. I don't like it when they do that generally. I'd rather them just create,
For the sake of diversity?
Yeah, especially when it's for the sake of diversity, I'd rather them just create new and interesting characters. Use the same framework. I mean, that's what storytelling is reusing some framework to create a new and interesting story. So instead of relying on these characters with like these long backstories, create new ones, create them interesting. And also, Bond has so many issues, like not just their reliance on eye candy, but also like the over sexualization of stuff. Like, he is a great actor. Let him act and not just rely on him looking good to tell a story.
Idris Elba, I think is how you say it. He's a very prominent black actor who's been on the rise for a while now.
Yeah. And so she's like, I would love him to be Bond and like just be able to sit back and enjoy the show. And by that, she means the eye candy. And the conversation basically delved into how she's willing to forgive bad acting for a pretty body to look at. And I'm like,
no, because we've seen bad acting kill a franchise.
Yeah. And I'm like, you shouldn't rely on eye candy to tell a story. And then it just delved into how it just like kept going down this hole.
Yeah. Like a perfect example of that is Holly Berry's. The story, all of it had, there's more problems than it just being like this story, but Holly Berry's Catwoman.
Yeah,
right?
They relied on very sexualizing this character, which, yeah, she's a sexual character, but like
they're like, oh, she's pretty though, so people
they
will
went
watch
from
it.
Here to like there on the scale of let's.
Yeah, they were like, she's pretty though, so people will forgive some of the stuff because she's so pretty. And it was like, nah. Like, you could not forgive the how bad the acting was. It killed the franchise, like, and it almost nearly killed her career. Like, it's how bad that was.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things, like I don't believe in relying on my good looks to get ahead or move forward in the industry. I want to rely on my skills. This fades, and honestly, and it also we got into the conversation about how I don't like what I see in the mirror. And how Well, she's like, and like I was teased when I was a kid. Yeah, and
Mhm.
for all the reasons that I was teased when I was a kid are things that people find beautiful in me now. But that doesn't change the fact that I'll look in the mirror some days and all I can hear is the little kids' voices going, hey, hey, or whatever little shit things they said.
Mhm.
And she's like, well, that's your choice as an adult to listen to that. And it's like, no, that's years of being teased about something, leaving a lasting impression through your adult life. And it is very hard to overcome that. I've recently been able to start overcoming some of those things. And how media plays a huge role in some of that,
Mhm.
especially because they rely so heavily on eye candy.
Mhm. Which is kind of funny considering some of your occupation.
Yeah. I'm well aware that that because I am a beautiful person, um, just like aesthetically so on some days, that I am able to do some of the jobs that I'm hired to do, some of the jobs that I am hired to do. But for me, those are just paychecks. And when I'm acting, I truly hope that no one's casting me for my looks and they are casting me for my abilities.
Mhm. You really went and did that, Cotton. I get that. Um, I mean, that's been some of my gripe about like the James Bond series is they bring women on for less than good reasons. You know? Like, some of my biggest gripes about some franchises is like they'll tell you how badass a woman is, and then they show her and she's this pretty thing, and you're told she's badass. They show her badass, then they put her around a guy, and suddenly it's like she doesn't know how to be badass anymore. And she just kind of falls apart because she's in the presence of a guy. And I can't really stand that. There's a specific word for it. A lot of times people call it the Trinity Syndrome, referring to the. Can you hear?
Matrix?
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
hear anything going on out there?
No.
Okay. So the one of the cats came in and totally shoved my door all the way open. um, So yes, Trinity syndrome referring to the Matrix. In the beginning, when you're shown Trinity, she's shown to be like this woman that can handle herself. She's in control of her sexuality. She's pretty much she's set up in the beginning to be Neo's kind of guiding star in the beginning. Um she's kicking ass all the way until Neo starts finding out how to kick ass himself. Right? The moment he's able to start taking care of himself is the moment she can no longer take care of herself. And she suddenly becomes the the reason why a lot of times he starts doing some of the things he does. Right? A lot of the third movie, he does some of like his sole motivation, some of the sole motivation he goes through is just because his girl's in danger, right? Like that's one. Another good example is what's the movie called? The second movie of How to Train a Dragon,
Yeah. Um,
right? The mom comes in. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, where have you been? But and it was spoiled like right like it's a great example of marketing spoiling a movie. But the mom comes in, and all this time she's been a badass. She's been running with these dragons. She's been fighting. She's clearly been fighting poachers, right? Essentially poachers this entire time. But the moment Hiccup and the dad come in, all of a sudden, she can't take care of herself. And the dad dies, right? Like, because of her. That's not what you just told us about. So you're constantly telling us how badass these women are, but then all of a sudden, the guy steps in and they're no longer badass. They suddenly are, oh shit, damsel in distress, because they stand there to serve the male's plot and to push the male's plot forward, which is what happened in the case of Neo and in some cases in Hiccup's case as well. So that's a lot of the problems that I had. And there's a video game too that I was like very, very vocal about not enjoying, because there was a lot of times where I was told that I have all these badass females, but I never got a chance to fight alongside them because I was either told they were badass, or they got quickly damseled in distress, or they got fridged. Fridged meaning they were killed off very quickly. Like, and it's like, you can't continue to tell me that these women are badass and then not allow me to, like, actually not allow them to be that.
Yeah. It's their badassery. It does not negate the male's badassery.
But that's...
Or should not negate it. And
right.
That's what they do.
Right. There's a small bit of this idea going around that, like, if a woman is stronger than the man, it emasculates the man, right? And that's not the case at all, right? You don't want a weak woman to stand behind a strong man, right? Like, that doesn't do any good. In my mind, that doesn't do any good, right? Because at the end of the day, the end of the day, like, you need a strong woman to take care of a strong man.
Yeah.
In my mind, coming from the lesbian.
Well, it's like in these shows, like, you have this amazing female character, then you gut her, and you have this great male character, and you just, like, raise him up on this pedestal, and all of a sudden, just, like, I would have been so much more interested in them helping each other to get the goal, to get to the end and get to the goal, than one of them dragging the other down and making it that much harder.
Right. So, I mean, this is just like the way some media has been. Yes, there's been a turning point where there's a lot more of that, of it changing, but it's a slow change. As with anything, it is a slow change. One of the shows that I watched recently that's kind of shown it. Have you? I just finished watching the Haunting of Bly Manor. Have you seen that?
Some of it.
It's actually really good. Some of this is going to be a spoiler, but there are three female characters that you're coming across. Three strong female characters. Hannah Gross. What was the other one? The gardener. I never got the name of. I never got. Only Jamie, and then Danny, who's the au pair. And Hannah Gross is the very strong. She's like, she commands the household. She is very clear that she makes sure everything gets done. And she's constantly put in this position where she's going up against this other guy named Peter Quinn. And Peter Quinn makes it very well known that he has the ear of the guy who owns the manor. And he is like, keep talking that way and I will get you fired. And he says that to her multiple times. And she just steps up close to him and goes, do it. At one point, she's just like, do it. And that was such an empowering moment, right? Like, she's just like, I don't care if you do. Give me the necklace you're trying to steal. Like, this, it doesn't matter what you're trying. I know what I'm about. I know what you're about. And no way in hell am I letting you walk out with something that's precious to this household. Hand it over. Right. And that was such an empowering moment because in other series, you might have seen them, seen that step back. Right. And be like, you're right. I shouldn't be challenging you because I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
Right. If I lose my job, then I can't protect these children. Right. But she's like, nope, nope, pop it over. And that was a very empowering moment. Go away. No, my foot's not for you. Go away. Uh, so that was one of the things that I really enjoyed. The other thing was like Danny was very clearly struggling with some things, and instead of her story was kind of interesting the way that they made her kind of step up in a lot of ways. Like she was clearly having like panic attacks. Like there was something very dramatic that happened. I'm not going to spoil it all. But she was forcing herself through a lot of these panic attacks that she was having because she wanted her life to be better. Right? And the whole reason why she was there is because she was trying to force herself out of the stuff that she was in. So that was really interesting to watch. I really enjoyed the show. Autumn, the wife, and I watched it, and she cried. It brought a few tears to my eyes. It was really good. If you have a chance to watch it, go watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah. The few episodes I saw were definitely good. I was enjoying it. I just also lately I just haven't been able to like sit down and watch shows.
It's a slow burn too.
Yeah.
I did not watch the first two episodes, and I'm kind of glad I didn't because the first two episodes might have turned me off. I'm one of the kind of person that's like, I like to kind of get into the meat of it pretty quickly nowadays. So if it's a slow burn, I'm just kind of like not about it. I actually came in on the third episode. So I watched from the third episode on. So I missed the first two episodes. So I didn't know what was happening, but I caught on pretty quickly because I got to get into the meat of it pretty quickly. And the way that they were setting up and just some of the integral ways that they pulled everything together was pretty impressive. Also, I have you know this, I have a tendency to do a lot of guessing and like spoiling for anybody that's watching with me because I can't stop myself from commenting on the show the entire time.
Yeah, if you're really excited about a show, watch it first and then go back and watch it with Becca. I'm glad I did that because, dear God, you would have just been like, hey, it's this person. I'm like, Becca.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Although I've been getting better at turning my brain off a lot more when I sit down and watch shows nowadays. But it has to be something that I absolutely just want to watch. And nobody can ask me a question because if they start asking me a question, like that's when I'll start my writer on and be like, all right, let's solve everything. So at one point, the husband's like, because he's in the other room watching something else, and comes out and he's like, he asked a question. I was like, leave. He's like, whoa, okay. But it was good. It was good. It's not as scary as it was led to believe either.
Yeah. It seems more of a suspense than a horror. And not really even suspense, but
I'm not gonna spoil it. I want to, but I won't spoil it. I don't mind spoilers. I don't care about spoilers. People are always like, I'm sorry if I spoil it. You don't spoil it for me. I constantly spoil things for myself, so you don't spoil it for me.
There's very few things that I don't want spoiled. TV shows is not one of them. Like, I don't mind you spoiling a TV show, mostly because the interesting part is how they get to that end. Like, I spoiled Game of Thrones for myself. I straight up spoiled it, and then when I watched it, I was like, fuck yeah!
So, what else? What else can we talk about? I'll talk about this TikTok video that I was making before before the call.
Oh, actually, that's a good thing. So you were talking, the video was about steampunk, and
Yes.
what is it when it's medieval times with technology?
I think it's still considered steampunk.
Is it? Because I thought it was like something like Knievel or something like that.
No, Knievel is a daredevil.
Yeah, I'm well aware. I'm like, I know it's not Knievel, but I feel like it's something evil.
That's one of the things about, I can look it up though, the different types of punk. The thing about it is that there's so many different kinds nowadays. Like, okay, the Flintstones. The Flintstones would now be considered stone punk. Yeah, candle punk.
I swear there was a something we used when we were younger.
Uh, no, there wasn't.
No, there was. I'm absolutely 100% positive that there was a genre that we called it when we were younger.
Yeah, I called it Knievel. Knievel because that was something that I had heard. But Knievel is, I don't even know how to spell that. But that wasn't even a thing. It's just made up fucking shit, dude. Uh, but no, it's called candle punk or plague punk.
Okay.
Or yeah, it's called candle punk now. So yeah, we can talk about that. Why the hell not? Um, so it would also be like what we would kind of call ours. Now ours is not called candle punk, but ours would definitely be in the sci-fi genre.
Yeah.
Belladonna, huh?
Yes. Sorry.
Belladonna would be somewhere in these most likely cyberpunk genre. Cyberpunk is a subgenre to science fiction. So the TikTok video that I was doing before I got on here. There was a lady that popped up on my For You page that was talking about steampunk. The thing was, she wasn't really like getting into it, but she was like, "What is steampunk? It's Victorian sci-fi," and I was like, "That's not quite right." So the history of it, since we did a history of James Bond, I'll do a little bit of history of sci-fi. The history of sci-fi is actually started by H.G. Wells. He's considered the father of sci-fi or science fiction. He's the one that wrote The Time Machine, which was then later adapted into like the really bad movie in 2002 called The Time Machine, which we did watch. Then it was then from there we started to see a lot of other kind of science fiction genres come out. One of the more popular ones being cyberpunk. Then from there, one of the bigger derivatives that came off of cyberpunk was steampunk, and this term steampunk was coined about in 1970. And cyberpunk was coined about, I want to say 1930s or 1940s. So there's like dupe of the two. So the reason why we're going to be in the cyberpunk genre, in one of those genres, is because of the fact we're relying much more on technology, which is where like more futuristic technology, since we're going with the framework that's more of the Hobbs and Shaw, like the later Hobbs and Shaw movie that just came out, versus the Victorian era style, which goes more along this alternative route. So it draws very heavily from 18th century and 19th century technology. And in particular, when we were going more steam powered. So when we were in the 18th century, 19th century, we had a lot of the steam, a lot of the coal, a lot of industrial machinery that we were going with. This is also when we started seeing clockwork come into play, a lot of gears, that sort of stuff. Less electricity that didn't come in until the later part of the 19th century. So these things are these gears and whatnot, and a lot of the Victorian style is what really influenced a lot of the steampunk genre. And the person that actually, and it's even in this book that I have, the person that coined the phrase, K.W. Jeter, not Jester, like I said in my thing, but I put a little note in there. Jeter, who coined the phrase steampunk, he drew very heavily from 18th century, early 19th century authors like Conan Doyle, H.G. Wells, of course, being the sci-fi father, which all, again, were very heavily inspired by Victorian styles. So this is why that's all very, very influenced by that stuff.
Yeah. And isn't like kind of steampunk the thought that had we gone more steam powered over electricity, this is what the world would be?
Somewhat of that. It's an alternative look of what we would have gone with if we had kept going down this style or down this route. But you could say that for any of the alternatives, like any of the punks. Like if we continued to go down fossil fuel, right, we would essentially go down diesel punk. Right, this is what we'd go until we had this. If we go cyberpunk, right, and we really go into, what's a movie we can look at? The one with Will Smith and Sonny. I Am Robot. iRobot. iRobot. That's much more cyberpunk. That's another way we could head, right? So you have different ways we could head based on the type of technology we would essentially invest in. And so steampunk is this way, diesel punk that way. So, or say we didn't advance at all and we continue down like the Flintstone route. Stone punk, there you go. Actually, a really good part of stone punk would probably be what's the one with Nicolas Cage that came out with where he's in a Neanderthal CG. We're really bad at naming movies.
Crudes?
Yeah, the Crudes.
There we go.
The Crudes, yes, the Crudes. Oh, some of that because they have that one human who's involved in the go away. You got your pets. One of the humans, right? And he has a lot of the inventions. Like even in this next movie, there's a second movie coming out, and so the second movie they're showing some of the
first one.
Yeah, there's some of the inventions that they're showing. Some of that would be considered steampunk. Like, so there's all these different subgenres that are linked underneath science fiction that we're kind of seeing. And it's just based off of like, if we had stayed going underneath this technology, what would we have looked like? Even like the Jetsons, what would you have put that under, knowing of the genres you do now?
I wouldn't it be cyberpunk? Yeah.
Pretty much that. But space age, yeah.
Yeah.
More space age. There, I think that's something different, but it would be underneath science fiction regardless. So
Yeah.
yes. And and that's like if you look at that, that's from like 1950s. 1950s was very interesting the way that they pictured us, our future.
They had such high hopes for 2020. They had
It was
such high hopes for 2000.
all very chrome, all very round. like, like you look at a lot of the 19 I have this like 1950s channel that's on TikTok that I go and see, and they were like showing like a smart home. And they were showing like, here's this freeze-dried food that you put in the microwave, and there's this menu of foods that you select from, and it makes the food right there, and it pops up. And I was like, that's so Jetsons, and you have really had and they were like calling it the electric house. I was like, you had some very high hopes for us.
Cooking is really a joy in the food preparation center. Here you have a refrigerator that looks like fine furniture. For convenience, the upper unit of the refrigerator opens from both sides, and below are handy, spacious refrigerator and freezer drawers. Then, too, there's the miraculous electronic oven that will cook these appetizers in 6 seconds. Appetizers that were prepared from recipes kept in this microfilm file. Thousands of recipes are on file here, and simply by pressing a couple of buttons, the recipe of your choice appears on the screen.
And the only thing I could think like that was similar is like what we have now called smart homes, and where we have like all these Echo Dots, Alexa controlled lights. Or do you remember the Disney movie Smart House?
Yep.
Oh man, that's on Disney Plus, by the way. You want to see those kinds of things, like those like very like the 1950s and 1960s, and that's also around the time when like the US and a lot of the world, but particularly the US, was very gripped by space age travel in the future, very gripped by the future, because we were in the Cold War, but we were also in the space race because we wanted to get to the moon before anybody else did. History, again, very much history. And what you see in a lot of science fiction is just the way history is kind of warped and romanticized. That's a great way of saying it. Just romanticized a lot. So, and I think steampunk is one of the best examples of how history in general is romanticized.
Yeah. It's like steampunk, and it's like our romanticizing history, and cyberpunk is romanticizing the future.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Which, you know, is literature, is romanticizing a situation.
Yes. Or dramatizing one.
Yep.
So yes, so when I saw this lady doing her thing, I was like, she's like, it's Victorian sci-fi, and I was like, yes, but
you're right there.
I want to say why, and so I was just like, I can stitch your video. Let me say why. And so, but I couldn't get like the phrasing right, so it took me like an hour and a half to make that video. That's why I was late to our recording.
It's okay. Technically, yes, you were late to the second, but like I was late to the first time we were supposed to record, because we usually record at 9. But I spent the night at Neil's house, at the boyfriend's house. It's weird because we don't say names on the podcast.
I mean, that's I just hadn't cleared it with them. They don't care if I say their names.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't care either. I'm pretty sure he said that. He's like, I don't mind.
Yeah.
He's said several times he'd like love to be on because like we'll have some conversations. You're like, I want to reply to this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of replies, did you have your? No, you probably didn't. No, I know you didn't. Or maybe you did. I don't know. But my email was suddenly flooded with messages of somebody replying to a lot of our videos,
Oh
and I
no, I
go
don't
and
have
look.
that set up.
Yeah, mine did. Mine did.
Well, I
I
think
go
it's
and
because it's set up on your email.
yeah, I go and look, and it was our mother. She replied to like three or four videos. I was just like, you can wait.
I was not aware of this. I'm gonna have to go and watch those. Read those, I should say.
Yeah. There's like four videos, 4 or 5. I just got a bunch of notifications. I was like, you know what? I will check those. I will check those tomorrow. And I haven't yet, but so I need to check those today. Um, so yeah, speaking of oh man.
But we like that. We like when you reply
Yes, we do.
because it gives us time to like look at what you've said, and if we want to expand on anything or reply to that in the next episode, we can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't personally, I feel uncomfortable bringing up a lot of conversations or a lot of replies that have been sent to me personally because I'm like, well, I guess you didn't want that to be public. So if you really have something that you like want to contribute to our an episode, please make sure you put it in the comment section down below.
Yeah, oh, I have it. I have them already.
See,
Oh,
you
I have
have
one. I have YouTube Studio on my phone because that's how professionals do it. I have one that goes, keep up. This is by Mac Webster. Okay, so YouTube comment section. Da, 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 da. So I have
we'll work
one.
on your jingles.
Huh?
We'll work on your jingles.
Yeah, whatever. Keep up the good work. You deserve more views. Do you know of smoothies.com? Use it to promote your videos. It will help you grow your channel. Okay. Thank you, Mac Webster. I will think about it. It's at least a look, but I don't know. I'm always very wary of those kinds of things. Because we always get like, hey, go to here because they will do this for you, or they will do this for you, or you get the like, especially on Instagram, I will get DMs from people that are like, hey, I will boost your things for like $33,000. And I'm just like, oh, you mean what I could do? Because I have no life right now. Then we have Neil, and this is the What is Romance? Oh, and Max was on our episode 2, where we shamelessly plug everything. So this is on, Neil is on episode 8, where we talk about romance, and he's like, what is romance? Romance to me is, this is a long one. It's a very long one. They're both very long ones.
Yes, he replied twice.
Yes.
Basically, those comments boil down to romance being very subjective to people, and how little things and big gestures are very subjective to a person.
Yes. Yes. And then, of course, we have our mother. Her first one is idea for your first TikTok video. You running and jumping at everything at the park and using Jaw movie sounds, or like, you're welcome. Oh, there's a period. And then it's like, and then it's you're welcome. So you want me to act like Jaws? No, no, no. You can't really run around at the park right now. And that was on episode 3. Episode 4, we're professionals living on LGBT and Belladonna. So that was, she's like, agenda!
Which I'm sure makes much more sense if we remembered what was in that episode.
Probably saying we were like, the LGBT agenda, the gay agenda.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, we're pushing the gay agenda, everybody. That every show has to have gay people in it. Same-sex marriage fall. Something weird like that. And then episode 5, dealing with burnout. I thought you said DJ was purple in the drawing. Your hair colors are different. Did you change your mind? No. No, we didn't.
That guy is purple. I'm orange.
Yes, I was given the colors and I was asked whether I liked them and who was going to be orange or purple, and I made the executive decision without consulting DJ at all and said I would be purple because I like purple more.
Orange is not one of our favorite colors at all, but it turned out really well.
Yeah, the contrasting colors, and it's a very common color that a lot of streamers and Let's Players use. So it worked out for us.
Yeah.
And that concludes the comment section.
Oh, ow. My hip just popped.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Keep them coming in. The other ones were all me. We're really going, comment in our sections.
Comment here.
Yeah.
And I know I've deleted one comment because it was an inappropriate trying to go to a site or something.
I want to at least post a comment in our comment section because then I feel like people are a lot more, I feel better about commenting in it. And we don't mind if our mom is in our comment section. We don't mind. That's just how she is.
We love her. Hi,
One
Mom.
way or another, we're going to hear from her.
Like the email. We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Sometimes. And then sometimes we just go, what the fuck?
That's our mom. So yeah, we're hoping we get more. It's always fun to hear from other people, like what their thoughts are. Some people have told me, some friends have reached out and said it's like hanging out with us. Aww. Especially like right now, we can't spend a lot of time with people because of the social distancing rules and everything. So they're like, this is another way we can hang out with you guys. Others have said like, this is another more about you because there's like,
I know my best friend would like us to delve more into our personal stories.
But what does that mean?
I think like today I probably could have talked more about like how I was teased when I was little and how that like we could have gone more into our childhood on being raised in the military and stuff like that. Because we tend to gloss over them because we know each other's stories. So it's like not a conversation we usually have because
it's also because maybe we just don't want to relive them all the time.
Yeah.
They're not fun stories to go through.
Yeah.
They're not. But I can understand, like, if that's something that people want to hear, we could maybe do, like, one an episode. Like
Yeah.
us, we can talk and pick out which stories we want to pull
Yeah.
and share. But
I mean, like,
that's
if we want, like, next week, um, we can get more into, maybe we can do body neutrality next week and how that works for me rather than positivity
it
and
works for
why.
both of us.
Yeah.
Because I think I sent you that.
Yeah.
I was the one that sent you that. I was like, oh my God, this is it, DJ. And you're like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's another one too, radical self-acceptance. Have you heard of that one?
No.
Okay, radical self-acceptance is sort of the same thing as body neutrality, as in you accept yourself wholeheartedly. Uh, so body neutrality is, and we'll get into it more in the next episode, but this is be a preview for the next episode. Body neutrality is the idea that your body is a
Neutrality.
vessel. Huh?
Neutrality.
Is an idea that your body is a vessel that gets you from one place to the other, right? It's there, it exists. You care for it because it holds you. Radical self acceptance is completely accepting everything you are for what you are. There's nobody out there who's you but you. Right? That's what I've come to understand it as. So we can talk on those two things next week.
Yeah.
So you know what to do.
Comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you can get notified, and make sure all your notifications are on so you are notified.
And hit that like button to let us know that you liked this episode. And we will see you next time.
Next week.
Bye.
Oh, my nose is so itchy.